Thanks for staying with us. Today we're embracing our assets and celebrating our unique style. We're learning how to dress for our body shape.
Yes, stylist Laura Jordan has stayed with us. You're giving us a masterclass in body shapes and ultimately, I suppose, to know what shape you are. We don't necessarily have to use any of the cruel terms, but to know what to look for in the shops.
It's so important because it narrows your focus when you go into the shops, and it allows you to set yourself up to succeed in terms of what you choose, so that the chances are you'll be more confident as a shopper when you know the shapes to look for, and when you come home you're happy with what you've bought, rather than thinking, oh, I didn't do a great job with that, or nothing goes together, it doesn't look like I expected it to. So you kind of get yourself informed before you hit the shops, which is really important.
Good call.
Smart. So we've got Sarah first.
Yes. So Sarah is wearing a good kind of relaxed evening look. So this is ideally suited for a pear shape who's smaller on the top half and larger on the bottom half. We typically use that V to make a bust smaller. Okay, that's usually what we use that for as a tool in fashion. But in this case, it's a handy option because it's flared. It just falls, and that's, for want of a better word, like the neckline is adjustable because you can. It's a true wrap. You can move it as you like, and again, bring the eye up. The little bit of sparkle there from Betty and Bady just gives you that focus to the top half of the look rather than the bottom. What I like about this top is, as we said, it's a true wrap, so it's good if you're on a weight loss journey, it's good if you don't want anything too tight if you're going out for dinner, and it's also good if you're breastfeeding. So those options come into it as well. It goes down a little bit longer, so it's flush along the front. So you decide how tight or loose you want it to be. You can put a cami underneath if you want. Because you've got looser on the top half, you have to balance it with something a little bit more fitted on the bottom half, which is why we've gone for those wax effect jeans. So they're a little smarter and more evening appropriate perhaps than a denim. If you want to just style up a little bit, they're high-waisted, they have 2 buttons and a zip, so they're good to hold you, support you in. And a wedge is a great boot option for running around during the day, but also smart enough for the evening time. These guys are from Vienna Shoes and Blackrock, so it's a good kind of mix option.
Skimming the hips and the bum, the area that you might be kind of
so the bum is covered, so are the hips, but we're giving a bit of height with the boots, and we're balancing the silhouette because it's a little bit looser on the top half, so we've fitted it in on the bottom half to balance that, because our eye likes contrast. We're trying to make that
It can be hard to find those longer tunic tops to cover those jeggings. That can be a little bit unflattering if you're wearing a crop top.
Exactly. You need to have it past the midsection and lower, because if you're wearing exactly a jegging or tight around that area, you just want to have it just falling a bit lower, and that's the key thing to keep an eye out for sure.
Now, Ursula's looking very elegant here.
Exactly. So Ursula is for an important work meeting or occasion, etc. And it's really the coat in this piece that's dolling it up. In that colour, again, has a base of blue, which works so well on blondes, blue eyes, etc. So for her shape, when we look at kind of the midsection of this dress now, which we'll see in a second.
Is it hourglass we're concentrating on?
Exactly. So hourglass here, what you have is the cinching of the waist is so important. What we notice with this is, again, showing a little bit of sparkle at the neckline to bring the eye up. We have the focus of the belt in the middle, and then we'll see in a moment the other focus at the base of the dress, which is important. That's a V-neck there, again elongating the neck, so gives you some kind of perspective in the silhouette. So your focus point is the ear and the neck for the sparkle, and then you've got the cinching of the belt at the waist. What's interesting about this is that there's pleats at the base of this dress. So if you want to wear pleats when you're in hourglass, and if you get pleats from the waist out, it's going to make you look bigger. Pleats are tricky, and they can make you look bigger from that point. So what I like about this dress is the pleats begin from the knee down. So it's still having the detail, but the silhouette at the waist and that important part of the tummy, the bum and the hips is sleek. And then it just falls down to just below the knee, so a nice length. So that's where we see the pleats, and then a little bit of blue tone there just to break it up a little bit, because sometimes when you buy a navy shoe, it doesn't blend as well.
That's a really good point you're saying about the pleats, and I think sometimes, you know, we can be too informed about our body shape, and then we go in and we see the beautiful clothes that don't suit us, but we want them anyway.
Exactly, and that's the thing that's
skirts
tricky.
are fab, but I can't wear them anyway.
And this is an example of who can. So this is Audrey wearing again, a highly pleated piece. She has that, as we discussed earlier, whether you want to call it rectangular, straight, boyish, that up and down shape that needs curves. So when she moves, this dress moves with her and gives her shape and curve.
It's creating the illusion.
Exactly.
So if you are curvy or any of the other body shapes, you would steer clear of this beautiful dress.
Exactly. Okay. So with this one here, we're giving, with the way that the neckline folds, it's giving a little bit of volume at the bust to kind of build up the bust a little bit. So that's why we've gone with a really dainty neck piece and earrings to complement that. You don't want to overpower it. And then you've got that all-important belt to cinch in, but the pleats begin just under the belt because we have narrow hips, literally straight down shapes. We can afford to add a bit of volume at that point.
Yes, okay.
And that's the key thing. For someone who wants to wear pleats, who is bigger in this area, you need to size up and wear a skirt that falls from the hips down, not from the waist. So you go size up and fall lower, and it will flatter your shape much better.
Yeah. And you talked about closed pleats before, I think,
yes,
didn't you,
exactly.
Laura? So not the bulkier ones as we have here.
So those exactly open out to create more fabric. So even a dart, which is the opposite to that, which is where the pleat folds in, and you just it's kind of literally designed to give you a shape. It's much more flattering. On someone who's not, I mean, someone who is up and down shape needs a bit of movement, but fundamentally, if you're curvier, you want to either have, as we said, the fold in, so the darts instead of the pleats, or have something that is a bigger size. So size up, go from the hip and fall it down rather than from the waist, because to be honest, if you sit down, you gather, never mind eat a dinner, etc. So
I feel like I need a notepad and pen. And
could you bring it in pointers and we'll laminate it?
We'll do a PowerPoint next time. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Laura. Pleasure
Thanks,
as always.
Laura.
Thanks for the great tips.
Thanks a million. Thank you.